I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to our October edition of Wake Up Newport. We've got a great speaker for you, and I'll introduce her in just a second. But I do want to welcome our VIPs here, which normally I have I do have a city council member. My sister Robin Grant is here this morning. She's with Newport Beach City Council. Almost forgot. And then, but I'm pleased to see all the blue jackets out here from the DECA Club. It's been a while since you guys have joined us, and I'm hoping that'll be a regular occurrence. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing them. We're over there, all of them, and hopefully get to experience what we do here at the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce and hear some quality speakers on a monthly basis. So before I introduce our speaker, though, since she didn't have a PowerPoint presentation, I thought I'd throw our website up there and show you just a short video. It's a little over 4 minutes. About the chamber, so maybe the DECA Club can understand what we do and why people join the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm just going to roll that right now. Hopefully. Oh, got to hit play, right? Okay. See, I should have one of the DECA kids do this for me. There we go.
The most memorable activity I've been a part of at the Newport Beach Chamber was recently serving meals to the families that are a part of the Boys and Girls Club at Thanksgiving time. And it was just a great way to serve our community.
My very first activity that really resonated with me was the Sandcastle contest here at the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. We host it every year in October, and it's such a great event.
The most memorable activity I've been a part of is the Newport Beach Christmas Boat Parade. I had the opportunity to be a greeter. Just really thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'd have to say that our ribbon cuttings are my favorite activity that we do here. There's just so much fun, energy, and excitement around welcoming a new business into our chamber. Being able to take part in the celebrations of a new business is such a special moment, as it really shows our sense of community and support for one another.
My most memorable experience is probably also my first experience at the Chamber. Had the honor of going to a walk-off with the Navigate group and had a great time. Got to meet a lot of professionals and was really introduced to the world of networking right there.
I recommend businesses to join Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce because the return on investment is tenfold. I mean, not just the business connection that you get from the Chamber, but also the personal connection and lifelong friendships that you make.
The Newport Beach Chamber is by far the best way to meet a ton of quality people very quickly. We have at least 2 to 3 events pretty much every week, and the focus is definitely more geared toward building relationships rather than just passing out business cards.
They also offer networking events. The networking events, Women's Inspire, the luncheons, the mixers. It's just a great, fantastic way to network. People come together, and then honestly, we all have just a great time just networking.
By joining the Newport Beach Chamber, you'll get visibility, exposure, and business connections. And like anything, what you get is what you put into it.
I would recommend any business that is interested in meeting new people and helping to grow their business and to getting more involved at a community level to join their local chamber.
I've definitely gained quite a bit of business by being a member of the Newport Beach Chamber, but I think more importantly, I've gained credibility and elevated connections within the community. Since the Chamber is the leading business organization in our city and quite possibly even the county, being a member gives you the opportunity to network and form relationships with some of the most influential people in our area. It's also probably the best way to one day become one of those people yourself.
I've been a member of the Newport Beach Chamber since 2016, and since that time I've been able to participate as an ambassador, as a referral roundtable chair, and most recently as membership chair for the board. And with that, I've built many business connections and friendships along the way.
Well, I had the great opportunity to get in touch with the right people and to get more and more comfortable in leadership aspects of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and ultimately became the chair of the Navigate Young Professionals Group, and now serve on the board of directors. I can't say that anything else would mean more to me than that. There's such a great opportunity to grow at both a personal level and at a business level. I've really enjoyed doing it, and I'm looking forward to the next steps.
Not just meeting my current business partners right now with Spinnaker Investment Group, I've also met lifelong friends through personal connections. I mean, the people that I meet with twice a month through Referral Roundtable, they're lifelong friends, and strategic business partners.
Meeting people within the chamber, becoming friends with new people within the chamber. Honestly, it's a great group of people, and I've just really have met people that have become friends. It's just a great group within a group.
So let me reduce that. And so that gives you a little bit of a flavor about what we do. We're a business organization. We're actually the largest chamber in the county now, 850 members and growing. I think we added 22 new members last month. And so it's a great way for business people, not just old guys like me, but young people like you or starting out in their business careers to network and meet potential clients or partners or businesses that might employ them someday. So certainly I know you guys are still in high school and you're, I'm sure, all off to college and hopefully graduate school after that, but think about it wherever you land. You should seek out your local Chamber of Commerce. It's a good way to get involved in the community and network. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce our speaker, Sue Parks with United Way, and I think I have her biography here on my phone, hopefully. Yes, I do, because I didn't print it out. So, as president and CEO of Orange County United Way, Sue Parks leads a nonprofit organization's mission to improve lives and strengthen the Orange County community. Parks has a long history with the organization as a former board member and one of the founding members of Orange County United Way's Women in Philanthropy Fund. She's also an active player in the development of the nonprofit's 10-year strategic plan to achieve substantial and sustainable social change in our county. Under Parks' leadership, the organization has launched 3 key initiatives. I'm sure she'll probably talk about that today. United to End Homelessness, United for Financial Security, and United for Student Success, which tackle the Orange County community's most critical issues and seek to provide long-term solutions that break the cycle. She has also spearheaded the organization's acquisition of 211 Orange County, 211 OC, a key service that connects thousands of the community's most vulnerable residents with health and human service resources via a free 24-hour emergency contact center. Prior to joining United Way, she held executive roles in several Fortune 500 and 1,000 companies, in addition to being an entrepreneur. Parks has received numerous accolades, including the 2023 LA Times Inspirational Women in Leadership Award, the 2021 Excellence in Executive Leadership Honoree Award by Cal State University Fullerton Center for Leadership, the 2020 Woman of the Year Award from Congressman Lou Correa, the Impact 2020 CEO of the Year Award, and many others. Sue currently serves on the Commission to End Homelessness as a member of the University of California, Irvine Chief Executive Roundtable. How about a round of applause for Sue Parks?
Well, thank you all for being here, and it's just wonderful to see all the DECA students, so I'm excited to hear your questions or what you might be going on in your mind. So you heard a lot about me. I have been around a long time. That was evident by what Steve had to say. So, but I really wanted to share a little bit about what the United Way does. And how many of you know what the name the United Way? Have you heard of it? Okay. I see a handful. All right, so, and that's not surprising. And so I just want to share with you, and talking a lot to the students here, because every community, much like they have a chamber, and definitely get involved in your local chamber, but in every community across the country and pretty much across the globe, there is a United Way. And a United Way is a local organization that focuses on how do we help people, primarily people who are living in poverty. So we're trying to lift people up. So this might be startling, but who knows how many people approximately are in Orange County, the population of Orange County. I've got amazing prizes, amazing. Oh, yes, Steve. 3.5 million. Okay, so Steve, a United Way hat. You probably, now I just want to let you know, not that you need a hat, not that you need a hat nowadays, Steve.
Steve, that was for the DECA students.
The, yeah, yeah, the, I think there'll be some discussion later about that move. So anyway, it's like the baseball in the show. What was it? The baseball that got fought over in Miami. You know, after that game. Anyway, nonetheless, the United Way in Orange County, so Orange County United Way, is focused on helping the 1 million of the over 3 million. There are 1 million people in Orange County that are struggling to get by. Is that astounding to you? Astounding. Well, I'm going to give you a hat just for the way you said astounding. So anyway, thank you for that. I think when we all have this opportunity to live in these beautiful areas, sometimes it's hard to see what is going on, you know, in the rest of the community. And that's where your United Way comes in. So does everybody know what a nonprofit is?
Yes. It's like an organization that doesn't make any money. So the idea is like we're not for profit in terms of the gains and investors that way, but people invest in us that care about their local community, right? So the donations that we receive, and every nonprofit needs donations, right? And so the idea that the community where you end up working and living and making a good life, the opportunity for you to give back, to support the people maybe who are struggling, makes such a difference. And that's really what the United Way does. The United Way brings together people to help transform the community, and we do that by uniting people to care about each other. Does that make sense? It's kind of a good thing, right? So here in Orange County, the areas that we're focused on, Orange County United Way, were really goals that were developed by the community. So we bring the community together to say, what are the biggest challenges in Orange County? What are the biggest things that we need to tackle? These big societal kind of issues. And so in 2014, we did that, and we developed a 10-year strategic plan. So what's the year this year? There is a prize for this. What year are we in? I see your hand was raised, so yes. So you can have a hat or a band. Which one would you recommend? I thought this, I like orange. Yeah. So we are in that final year of our 10-year plan. So let me tell you a little bit what we did, and I was on the board at this time. In 2014, the community came together and said, we need to really focus on 3 big areas. And one of those was, how are we going to help more people in Orange County become financially stable, right? It is expensive to live here, and I think you probably all are aware of that. It's an expensive place, rightly so. It's a fabulous place. But there are a lot of people, the people that are, you know, in the service industry are really, really struggling. So how do we help more families in that particular area? And when you have a goal, you have to be able to measure goals, right? You have to have the idea that you have to have something that you can measure. So we actually had an index create, a family financial stability index, so we could see how families were doing. And I will say a 10-year goal is a long time, but we had the goal was to improve financial stability for a family by 25%, so that we could measure that. And that actually was achieved in 5 years versus 10 as a community. So that's pretty cool, right? Orange County, that, you know, family financial stability was improved. And so again, we now have another bold goal on that particular area. But one of the things that we do in that, for example, is something called OC-free tax prep. And maybe some of you are whizzes at accounting or finance, but every year we mobilize 500 volunteers to help families do their taxes. And we do this by training people who are interested. 500 volunteers do this every year. And last year we brought back from families who probably would not have had this done, $20 million into the community. So we helped 14,000 households and brought back about $20 million to those families. In many cases, those dollars that somebody got were transformational to them. So that is one very specific thing that we do, but there's always a need for volunteers and people that really care about the community, and it's transformational. And we do have some high school students who are helping with that. We have many Cal State Fullerton students, UCI students, a lot of people who jump up to help. But lots of things going on in that particular area. So that was one goal, around cutting the financial instability of households. We then had another goal around student success, and this is really focused on the schools in Orange County that are maybe graduating 88% of their senior class versus those probably in the area here which are probably closer to 98, 99% class. How do we close that gap? So one of the things that we did is we set a bold goal for Orange County to cut high school dropout rates in half. And once again, in 5 years, as a community, we did it. And I think that's extraordinary. So in Orange County overall, that was cut in half. But there's still gaps. So we're trying to close that gap. And ways that we do that is through being in schools in different parts of the community. Primarily, we're in Anaheim, Santa Ana, Garden Grove, Westminster, other schools, but we're working with the students to ensure that if they needed a mentor, there was a mentor for them. We bring companies in and share about careers of the future. We have field trips to companies that might be here in Newport or Irvine that a lot of the students don't have a chance to see that really exists. So one of the things for all of you that can, right now you could consider being an e-mentor for this graduating class that's coming up between January and May in those particular schools, and we match people up, et cetera. It's a wonderful, wonderful process. And for those of you that are students, you might think about that when you graduate from college. How could I give back? And being a mentor, I say e-mentor because this is all primarily done through technology, that connection. But to be a mentor for somebody, especially when you are closer to when they're graduating than somebody like me, means so much for those students. They know that somebody cares about them. You give them hope. You let them know it's going to be okay, and help them through that period of time where they're going off to something that they have no experience in. And in many cases, they don't have family members, like many people probably in here, have family members that have gone on to college or graduate school. In many cases, these families don't have that those family members that have done that. So to have somebody help makes a big difference. So I'm excited that we can do more to help students together in Orange County, and there's opportunities to do that for everybody in this room. So student success. So what was the first one I said? What was the first goal? Yes?
The dropout rates?
Well, the financial stability. Okay, do you want a hat? Pretty soon, if you're at the end, you'll be winning a bag. I just want to highlight that this bag will be a prize. So financial stability for households, that sounds like a good goal, right? We want more families to be successful here, more people to thrive. It's good for the economy. Every company out there needs people who work at all levels in the companies. So anyway, that. And then the second goal was around education, right? Cutting the dropout rate in half and closing the gaps in education, okay. All right, so next up is homelessness, right? Does everybody realize that's probably a big issue? Is that something that you talk about or hear about, et cetera? So one of the things that we did in that particular time is we said we need to help close the gap, because especially for those families that are struggling and their children are trying to go to school while being homeless, right? Can you imagine not knowing where you're going to sleep, maybe living in a motel, maybe living in a car? There are students out there that are going through that. So we started taking a good look at that, but we also wanted to do a bigger look. So one of the things that we did, and we partnered with UCI, so Many of you or some of you might go there, amazing university. And we did a research, because everything we want to do is we want to make sure that it's the right thing, and we have measurable ways to say, are we making an impact? So we had UCI do a study on the cost of homelessness in Orange County. And this was pretty startling to business people in the community, is that as a community, we were spending about $300 million managing homelessness. And that could be from emergency rooms that are, because somebody is homeless, doesn't have a regular physician, and so emergency rooms serve that purpose. Certainly the police and all the different parts of the community, money's being spent on housing. But if we housed everyone who was homeless, we would actually save $40 million. Right? So that was really like got businesses saying, could we do something different here? And so one of the things that we did is we galvanized the private apartment owner community to say, be part of this in a bigger way, be part of the solution. And so somebody who has become homeless in many cases has a voucher, and we match people up with a voucher with somebody, open-minded apartment owner who will take that voucher, and we make sure that person has supportive case management and support. But through that work, in the last 5 years, we've ended homelessness for, just in this one program, for 1,125 people, right? That's a lot of people, right? If you thought, how many people fit in this room, Steve? 150. So think about multiplying that, right, 10 times if you would. Is a lot of people that have been housed. But because it's expensive to live here, a lot of people fall into homelessness. So I want to just say a little bit about the causes, because I think this is so important, that the research shows, and it's been validated time and again, the number one reason that people fall into homelessness is economic. Something happened in their life. Maybe they lost a job, maybe somebody went through a divorce, maybe a woman's fleeing domestic violence. Something happened in their life, but it's normally economic, and they're not being able to take care of themselves. That is over 70% of the people that fall into homelessness. If any of us lived homeless for any period of time, we would develop issues. Can you imagine, right? We would develop issues, maybe a dependency on something to escape, living in constant stress over and over again. It would take a toll on us physically and mentally. So I just want to put that out there. The idea of preventing homelessness, which is a big part of what we do, is a huge opportunity for us to think differently and just understand that every individual out there has a story of how they got there. And many people have ended up, getting into a cycle and have been homeless for a long time. So anyway, all that being said, we lead with research. We want to make sure we're attacking the biggest issues in the community. Is that new information for some of you in terms of that? And if you wanted to read more about it, those studies are on our website at unitedwayoc.org. But I think it's really important for you, especially for those of you just starting off, to understand some of the social issues, because you're going to be in a position at some point you can help. And maybe it's through a donation, maybe it's through volunteering, maybe it's being somebody that helps strategically think through some of these big issues. But it's an extraordinary opportunity. So I'll just say, from my personal background, I was a business person. I spent my whole career in business, running divisions of big companies, et cetera. And I got involved with the United Way because I wanted to do something for the community that I was a part of. And little did I know, as I was getting more and more women involved as major donors, that I would fall in love with the organization so much. And the reason I love it is because we're strategically focused on the bigger things and long-term change, but every day there's a story that touches your heart. And so in all of that, it's just an amazing opportunity as you think about your careers and where you go. And anybody out there currently that wants to get involved, there's always opportunities that we have. I do have information for you, and it'll share a little bit more about what we do. So all that being said, it's been an amazing journey. I'll tell you one little story about homelessness, and I'll touch on 211 and then open up for questions. But Last year, we learned that our 211 is struggling. 211 is the social services hotline for the community. And when I say that, it needed to be in a nonprofit, which again, different type of how you measure success. But we are still, if you would, businesses. We still have to run. You still need an administrative side. You still need finance. You need development, which would be sales equivalent in a business. You need to have an infrastructure to be successful. And in doing that, we realized that we had the capacity to bring in this other nonprofit that needed support and stabilize it. So if somebody is in crisis in Orange County, if they are in immediate crisis and immediate danger, call 911. But if somebody needs social services, or if you see somebody needing help, you can call 211. And 211 connects to us, and we have wonderful trained people that help people get connected to the services they need. So in Orange County, we helped close to 500,000 people last year that connected with us, right? That connected and looked for help. We had 2,000 some calls just here in Newport Beach. 53% of those calls were people looking for housing, looking for support, looking for maybe some rental assistance because, you know, they've lost a job and needed to be helped as we move forward. And we'll be able to share more of that data. We just brought them in just a year ago as we learned. But it's really eye-opening to see what people are going through. I listened to 3 calls yesterday, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, and the fastest growing population of our homeless, anybody want to guess this? Who are fastest growing? Seniors. And not just senior. Like me. Okay, half? No, you don't get half. You get half? So think about that. Maybe think about your grandparent. Think about your grandmother. That the folks, like maybe again a spouse passed away, and they don't know what they're going to do. They didn't realize what was going on with their finances. That happens a lot. And so those are things that when somebody calls 211, we can connect them to resources to help them get stabilized and get them in a place that, you know, that they can move forward. So it is a really important service, and at United Way, we're happy to help have it and be able to stabilize it and grow it and partner. Our friends from, Eric from Goodwill is here. Those are things that we work together. They have a major program working with veterans. We do a lot to, work on family or veteran homelessness, but there's a whole network of folks that work with Eric's nonprofit that we connect through 211 to make sure that veteran finds housing, gets some place to work, gets any other emotional support they need. We connect all those services together. So there's a wonderful opportunity to learn more about 211, and if you have a friend that needs help, I have a friend who has a son that's going through some challenges. To know what social services are out there is really important to do. So the other day, one of those calls was a young woman who was trying to stay in a community college, but her mom had kicked her out. And we don't know the reasons why, and I'm sure there's a story, but the idea that she needed a place to live, or this young woman was going to be living in her car, right? That happens here in Orange County, and so that's why donations matter, that's why volunteering matters and all that, because we can help people like that young woman get stabilized and move forward in her life. So I have information on our organization and somewhat of the work we do, but let me just open it up to questions. I covered a lot of ground, I probably rambled, but do you have a little bit more sense of the importance of a United Way in a community? We are starting our next strategic planning to look at what are other big issues that we can tackle together. But the cool thing is, in Orange County, we can accomplish anything. By working together, we can change the world. And you're in this incredible city in Newport Beach that cares so much. So, but whatever city that you end up living in or working in or whatever, think about how you can get back and get involved. So, any questions? Because there might be a bag available to you. Robin, yes, thank you.
First of all, thank you. So you're doing amazing work, and you know, every person in this room actually benefits from the work you do, indirectly or directly. So I'm so grateful to you and your leadership in this important role in our county. In talking about homelessness, I think something that you said is really important that needs to be sort of highlighted, which is the strategic work that you're doing. It's not really just about offering somebody a home. People that are homeless do sometimes have existing problems or develop problems, and the idea that you're strategically working with people, not just to provide a place for them to lock the door at night, but also the wraparound services, is so important in really moving the needle on homelessness in our community. So again, grateful to you for your leadership and that strategic thinking that's actually making a difference, and we're not just throwing out $500 million a year or whatever amount you've mentioned, but that we're actually moving the needle.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. In terms of homelessness, because it is, and when you poll people, it's like the number one concern that they have, right? And many of us now know somebody that this has happened to, right? You know, it's no, maybe not here, but across the country. There are three things that we do to really change the system. There's a lot to be done in advocacy. So we have a huge advocacy effort to try to get more focus on things like prevention, to make sure there's social services offered, that case management that's so important, because again, housing on its own isn't going to make the difference. But how do we encourage different solutions when it comes to housing, et cetera? So all of that being said, there's a big advocacy that's about changing. But the other thing, and maybe something to consider in your school, is we do a homelessness 101 class, which I think, you've gone to, and it's a 2-hour program, and we've done it in high schools, and we've done it for chambers, and we've done it for clubs, et cetera. But and we have it online, but basically we can customize it, a 2-hour session, but it actually really helps people understand this issue better and solutions for the long term of what can be done. And I think it's wonderful for everybody to see that and really take away some of the myths around this really challenging human problem that we can solve. We can absolutely solve it, but it's by working together. So thank you, Robin. Yeah.
Okay, so what can you say about the working homeless? Because the cost of living here in Orange County, the low income is considered $80,000 a year. So what can you say about working homeless?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges, and so there are other programs. So like one of the things that we do, and I know there are probably others, is when somebody is, if you would, underemployed, right? They're not making a living wage here. How do we upskill them into jobs that are going to pay a living wage? Or what other things can we do to support that household? Because many people, so many people who are homeless do work. To your point, right? It works. So one of the things is for them to connect, great place, again, maybe call 211 to share that what they're going through and find out other services that might stabilize them. Because it's hard, I think about somebody that's working 3 service jobs, right? Trying to make ends meet to support their family. And this is actually one of those stories in a brochure. And in her case, she could not do one of those jobs to get trained to take a job or do a job that would be stronger, right, for her. So we connected her to a program called Upskill, where she was able to get support while she was going through training for a technology type of job that was going to pay that higher wage, right? So there are interesting services out there. I can't say it works for everybody, but it'd be the opportunity for people to reach out and ask for help. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. So, yeah.
How about the homeless who have pre-existing issues? Do they still apply for the program, or what's the process?
Yeah, so there's a process out there, and so we are, and Robin or somebody could probably talk more about Newport Beach, but there's some standard HUD, so the Housing Urban Development out of the federal government has some is the biggest funder in terms of supporting our community. And there are dollars allowed for vouchers for people who have disabilities. So somebody who has a disability, but they need to, have been homeless for a certain period of time or over, a period of time over a few years. They're looking at changing some of these rules, but there's kind of a guideline, if you would. And then there are people that go out, whether some cities hire people, some people it's part of their city government that go out and they actually get to know the homelessness in each area. I live in Dana Point, so I know I can speak about Dana Point, that they know who is homeless and who's fallen in homeless, and they're in touch with them, and I know Newport does a great job with that. And at some point, if they are assessed that they are somebody that's chronically homeless, they'll be in line to get what we call like a housing voucher. So there's a process that people need to go through. And it takes time. If somebody's been living on the street for a long time, I think it's like 17, 18 types of outreach need to happen to trust to be formed to who's been there, because they've had so much trauma in their life going through that period. But those relationships do form. There's trust built, and then they can get into this system. But again, it's always it's a challenge. So the idea of not having that happen, right? That prevention piece is a huge part of it. Robin, do you want to add anything more about here?
Well, I'm actually going to give you another compliment because I have attended a lot of your programs, some of the United Team Homelessness and the 101, and also the women's group, and so I really do feel like I have a broad perspective on what you're offering. And one of the most compelling things that gets done in this county and on respect to homelessness is one of Sue's initiatives, which is matching people with the vouchers with welcome apartment or dwelling unit owners. And that might seem pretty easy, like, oh, if you've got a housing voucher, then you've got money from the state, and some people, you can just go get a house. It's not that easy. There is a clog in the system. There's a lot of people who have vouchers and are going through the regular governmental roles and aren't able to secure housing. There's not enough housing for the vouchers. Sue's group, the United Way, is actually actively going out into the community of apartment holders. And I know we've talked about people that I know in the community that maybe are very, have had very good fortune and own a lot of apartments or a lot of dwelling units. And Sue is actively going out and being the face of this, and you can see how wonderful she is and how well she presents herself. She's, and her team, not just Sue, are able to take these people that have had vouchers for a really long time and are still on the street or still in a homeless shelter, even though the government said we will pay your rent. They aren't able to get housing, and Sue's able to match them with these people who own properties who wouldn't otherwise maybe be in the system. So it's really an accomplishment. Like, this is not an easy task, and Sue's doing it so gracefully. It's really an amazing venture, journey you're on. It's helping all of us.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, I have an incredible team. Yeah. I want to just say I have an incredible team of people that work on these issues, and they're passionate day and night about how do we help, again, transform, right? Not just, this handout, but how do we really help transform lives? So thank you for that. Yeah, our largest apartment owner that has units in the program is a Newport Beach resident. Yeah, and which is awesome. And through his generosity, we have, again, I think he has over 100 different apartments in the system. I'll tell you a really cool story because I love this story. I was talking to a group, many of whom were donors, and this one gentleman who'd been involved with us for a while came up and said, I'm not an apartment owner, but if you would, my mom is going into assisted living, and I have her 2-bedroom condo in Fullerton. And could I put that in the Welcome Home OC program? And we're like, of course. It doesn't matter if you're, the Irvine Company and own thousands, or if you're Matt who owns one unit. But through that program that goes through like there's a process it goes through that is done by the county. But in the end, there were 2 homeless senior sisters who were living in a shelter and had been there for 7 years. And those two sisters got matched to Matt's unit, and they are now happily living in Fullerton. And he is the happiest landlord that you've ever seen, right? He gets his rent is paid and all that, but he also knows that he saved those two women, extended their lives. And so there's really cool stories every day that goes on, but it's an incredible team, and it takes support. These are partnerships that are, nonprofit, and they're government, they're other people involved in this. So anyway, and Steve.
So the housing vouchers, are you guys paying market rate for the housing, or
Yeah.
subsidizing a little bit? How's that work?
So there's how it works is that there's the person that's being housed pays, I think it's 20%, but the housing authorities, or 4 housing authorities in Orange County, you're under the Orange County Housing Authority here in Newport, but they are always checking market rates. So, and so I can't say that, I think now it's actually at a good place. There was a time during the pandemic where people weren't moving and prices were going up, so much. It was hard for the housing authorities to always keep upping, but I'd say it's market rate. I have very few, and there's a whole process that goes through, do that. It's an amazing program. The other thing we do have is a fund that, and to think about this, that if you're homeless, what Robin was saying, and you have a voucher, and I'm up trying to get that apartment versus somebody else, they're probably going to pick somebody else because maybe I have an old debt. Maybe I didn't pay my cable bill, right, years ago, and it's been on my credit report, or I have a dental bill I can't pay, right? And so it's making it difficult for me. We actually have a fund that's called Whatever It Takes to help that person get that off their record and pay it so that they can go on and get housed. And that is sped up getting people housed. So there's many incredible programs out there. And again, but I would say market rate. And we have 147 apartment owners that are part of that. Some people have 1 unit, like Matt, but some people have hundreds. So, yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it's 24 hours, and we're all separate 501c3s, but there are other 211s. And the other cool thing is, like, if something happened in, like, our backup is a Ventura 211, but if something happened to Ventura, we could be their backup, right? So that no matter what community, we all work together to make sure coverage is there. Yeah.
One last question. So you said you worked for Fortune 500, 1,000 companies, and now you're United Way. Tell us just quickly some of the companies you did work for, and how is that different from what you do? And maybe not, and why did you go to a nonprofit from corporate?
Yeah. Wow. Let's see. So, what companies still exist that I'm with? So, I spent many years at US West, which would be the equivalent of Pac Bell here. So, a big telecom. So, before, so I don't know if you remember, who remembers landline phones, pay phones, things like that. So I ran their business and government division of US West. And then we went through a merger, which, many companies, happened to many companies. So I was with them for a number of years. And then when Kinko's was Kinko's, before it was FedEx, I ran all of their stores for the country as well. So, oh, okay. Yeah, and I didn't work for him at the time. I worked for but yes, interesting separate stories. So, yeah. So what's different? So in my corporate life, I would say I love certain experiences. As ever, it's always probably like who you work for, and type of thing. And what I really love about right now, what I do, not that I didn't wake up like loving copies, I mean, like, that, but every day I wake up with purpose. And I think that you need to find that in any aspect of your life, right? Because purpose means everything. So it's a joy to do what I do. It's hard many times, but it's a joy. Not that I didn't, again, have joy fixing payphones. I wasn't the person doing it. But at the end of the day, it's just a whole different sense of I don't know, understanding that we all are in it together. And it's not necessarily all about the monies and all that. It's about doing what's right for our community, and that appeals to me. So, thank you.
Well, that's a great story about, an organization that is having a huge impact in our community here in Orange County. And so hopefully you'll leave here today and think about what she said. And I'm sure you have volunteer opportunities over at United Way, and there's many other organizations like that. Goodwill, you can talk to Eric in the back, or Boys and Girls Club. You can be mentors there. Maybe you've gone to the Boys and Girls Club here in Newport Beach, but they have them all around the county. So I do want to introduce one other dignitary here, Don Yan. He's one of our harbor commissioners. I forgot Don. And a big United Way supporter. Yes. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing the DECA students here this morning, and hopefully you guys will be regulars. I don't now have the speaker for next month yet, but in December we're going to have Assemblywoman Diane Dixon's going to be our speaker, and she's doing a lot up there in Sacramento that you might be interested to know about. Sue, sorry I hit you in the head with the hat. Maybe we'll get you a chamber hat or something. Just don't sue us or anything, okay? Yeah. Hopefully we're not injured. And then we have a lot of programs for the rest of the month. I can actually today, because we have our website here, maybe slide this up. Oops, too far. Well, in any event, we've got a big event today at lunch, our economic forecast event. We have a young professional group, Navigate, that's been going on monthly hikes, I guess, and doing some other great stuff. We have a Women in Wellness luncheon next week on, I think, the 8th over at the Bahia Corinthian Yacht Club for on the 9th. And we're going to be cruising the harbor for our monthly Sunset Mixer with Laguna Chamber and Costa Mesa Chamber. So very active organizations. Thank you all for coming, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Take care.